Elias Trent had never imagined he would travel so far from Earth. The human medic stepped off the starship onto the vibrant surface of Zithra, a planet bathed in soft, golden light. Towering structures shimmered in hues he could not name, reflecting colors that seemed alive. The air was thick but breathable, carrying a faint scent of something like warm metal and sweet blossoms. He adjusted his medical bag and gazed at the palace ahead. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, grand and organic at the same time. Its walls curved upward like the shells of giant, translucent insects, and faint pulses of blue and green energy ran along the surfaces. These pulses seemed to react to him, slowing and brightening as if acknowledging his presence. Elias's mind raced. Humans had studied the Virelians for decades, but knowledge from books was never enough. Seeing them in person was overwhelming. He knew the stakes were high. He had been chosen not just for his skill in medicine, but for his empathy, his ability to remain calm under pressure, and, as the elders of the Interstellar Council had said, his human resilience. The palace doors opened silently, revealing Virelian guards. They were tall and elegant, with smooth, luminescent skin that shimmered with patterns like living tattoos. Their eyes were large and black, reflecting light like polished obsidian. Each carried a staff that hummed softly, seemingly in sync with the palace's energy pulses. Elias felt a shiver of awe, but he reminded himself he was a medic. His job was care, not awe. Human, one of the guards spoke in a voice that vibrated in his chest. Elias was startled. It was deep and melodic, not the sharp tones humans were used to. A small device on his shoulder translated automatically. "The Queen awaits your assistance. Follow." Elias swallowed and nodded, following the guards through corridors that twisted and curved in ways that seemed impossible. Light flowed along the walls like a river, responding to his movements. He saw other Virelians moving silently through the halls, their long limbs gliding effortlessly. None spoke. They only watched, their attention both curious and wary. Finally, he arrived at a large chamber. The floor and walls glowed faintly, casting soft light on the Virelian queen, Seralith. She was magnificent beyond words. Her skin shimmered with a soft iridescence, and her eyes glowed with a gentle amber light. Her body was sleek and elongated, with subtle energy pulses running across her skin. But what caught Elias's attention first was the tension in her posture. Her wings, delicate and translucent, twitched slightly, and her hands trembled. A cluster of Virelian advisors hovered nearby, whispering to each other. They turned toward Elias as he entered, their expressions guarded. He felt the weight of their scrutiny, but forced himself to stay calm. This was not Earth. He was here as a healer, not a visitor. Human, Seralith's voice echoed in the room. It was soft but resonant, carrying a note of pain. Elias noticed a faint shimmer around her wrist, an energy flare that indicated injury. She lifted her hand slightly, and he could see a thin, jagged line of disruption along her skin, as if something had cut through layers of her energy field. Elias swallowed. He had read about Virelian anatomy, but nothing compared to witnessing it firsthand. Their circulatory system was unlike anything human. Energy streams ran alongside liquid blood, creating a network that glowed and pulsed. Treating such an injury required precision, not just knowledge. "I'm Elias Trent, medic from Earth," he said steadily. "I'm here to help." Seralith's eyes studied him, unblinking. The room seemed to hold its breath. The queen's gaze was intense, almost probing, as if she could see not just his actions, but his thoughts. Elias felt a strange heat in his chest, a mixture of fear and excitement. Approached carefully. She whispered. Her voice was soft but carried a weight that made everyone in the room tense. "Do not harm me." Elias nodded. He removed his medical gloves and took a deep breath. Every step toward her felt monumental. He approached slowly, observing how her energy pulses shifted with his movements. He realized that for the Virelians, touch was more than physical, it was emotional. One wrong gesture could trigger pain or distress. He knelt beside her and carefully examined the wound. It was on her forearm, the energy stream disrupted, with faint signs of inflammation. He reached out slowly, placing his hand near her skin without touching it yet. Sorelli flinched but did not move away. "I'm going to examine it closely," Elias said softly. "Please stay still." The queen tilted her head slightly. Her eyes glimmered with an expression Elias could not name, part fear, part curiosity, part something else. He focused on the wound, studying the energy flow and the alignment of the layers beneath her skin. He applied a gentle, concentrated pulse of healing energy, one that he had adapted from his human techniques, but modified for Vaurelian physiology. The light around his hand shimmered softly, blending with her energy field. Sorelli's body tensed again, and he felt the subtle tremor under his fingertips. "You are careful," she whispered. Her voice was almost a sigh, a sound Elias had never heard before. There was an odd intimacy in her tone, as if she were acknowledging his presence in a way no one else had. Elias worked meticulously. He knew that any mistake could worsen the injury, or worse, destabilize her energy field. The room was silent except for the faint hum of the palace and the soft pulse of her energy. The guards remained still, their eyes fixed on him, but they did not intervene. Minutes passed like hours. Elias adjusted his technique, blending human medicine with careful observation of her energy. Slowly, the jagged line in her energy stream began to smooth. The subtle flare of pain diminished, and Sir Ailith's breathing became steadier. "You are unlike the others," she murmured, her voice almost a whisper. "Only my chosen one may care for me." Elias froze, unsure if he had heard correctly. The words were soft, meant only for him. He glanced up, but her gaze was steady, unflinching. The room seemed to hold its breath. I am here to help," he said carefully. "That is all I wish to do." For a long moment, there was silence. Then, Sir Ailith's eyes softened slightly, a faint pulse of calm washing over her. Elias realized that the queen's tension was easing, and the wound was stabilizing. His heart raced with relief and awe. The advisors whispered among themselves, and the guards relaxed slightly, though their vigilance remained. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. He had passed the first test, but the deeper challenges lay ahead. He stayed beside Sir Ailith for a while longer, monitoring the energy flow and making small adjustments. He noticed something remarkable. The queen's pulses seemed to resonate with his own calm focus, a subtle connection forming between them. It was as if the act of care itself was bridging the gap between human and Vaurelian. When the treatment was complete, Elias stepped back and allowed Sir Ailith to sit upright. Her wings fluttered slightly, a sign of relief. She studied him with those glowing amber eyes, and for the first time, Elias felt a genuine acknowledgement from an alien mind of recognition, that he had not only healed her wound, but had done so with understanding and care. "Rest now," she said softly, her voice carrying authority but also trust. "Tomorrow, you will see more of what is required." Elias nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. He had arrived as a human medic, a stranger on an alien world. But already he sensed that his presence had meaning beyond mere healing. Something about the Vaurelian queen's words, "Only my chosen one may care for me," echoed in his mind. He did not yet understand their full significance, but he felt a spark of destiny, a hint that this mission was far more than a simple medical task. As he left the chamber, Elias glanced back at Sir Ailith. The queen watched him go, her form radiant in the soft glow of the palace. The connection between them, fragile but undeniable, had been established. And in that moment, Elias knew that the story of humans and Vaurelians was only beginning, a story in which care, empathy, and courage could change the course of an entire civilization. Outside, the golden light of Zithra bathed him in warmth. Elias felt both small and infinite at once, standing on a world that was alien and wondrous, facing challenges that tested every part of his being. And yet, deep in his chest, he carried a quiet determination to prove that a human could not only heal a wound, but also bridge hearts across the stars. The next morning, Elias Trent awoke to a sky of swirling gold and lavender on Zithra. Light danced across the walls of the palace, flowing in strange, living patterns that seemed almost like a heartbeat. He carried his medical bag carefully as he made his way back to Sir Ailith's chamber. Even after yesterday, he could feel the weight of the queen's presence before he even entered the room. When he stepped inside, Soralith was already there, seated with her wings partially unfurled. She regarded him silently, her amber eyes glowing softly. The wound on her forearm had healed overnight, but her body still carried tension. Elias noticed her hands gripping the armrests, her muscles tight. Energy pulses flickering faster than normal. "You have returned," she said quietly, her voice steady but carrying a subtle note of apprehension. "Do you understand why I must observe you closely?" Elias nodded. "Yes, Your Majesty. I understand that trust is earned, not given. I will act with care and patience." She tilted her head slightly, studying him as though weighing his words. "Patience, yes, but care is more than skill. It is understanding. Can a human truly understand a Varillian?" Elias hesitated. "I do not know everything about your people, but I can listen. I can observe, and I can act with attention and respect." A faint smile, or at least the closest thing to one Elias had ever seen on a Varillian, crossed her features. "Perhaps," she said. "Then come closer. Let us see what you can perceive today." He stepped forward slowly. Even the act of approaching required precision. One wrong movement could startle her, or worse than the subtle energy imbalance that still lingered from yesterday. Elias knelt before her, eyes scanning the faint energy pulses across her skin. He felt the hum of the palace around him and realized that every movement, every gesture, resonated in ways humans rarely experienced. Soralith's energy pulsed more quickly as he reached toward her. She flinched at first, but then seemed to steady herself, testing his intentions. Elias noted that even a gentle touch caused subtle changes in her body language, slight wing flicks, changes in her breathing, small shifts in her posture. Each movement told him something about her mood, her tension, her trust. "You notice the smallest details," she whispered. "That is unusual for your kind." Elias smiled faintly. "It is necessary. Your physiology, your energy, it is delicate. Precision matters." She did not respond immediately, only observing him. Then, without warning, she shifted slightly, a faint quiver running through her energy stream. Elias's hand froze midair. He had learned quickly that the Varillians communicated through more than words. Their energy was language. Hesitate, and it was as if the queen herself sensed uncertainty. "You are careful," she murmured. "Too careful, perhaps. Caution is good, but hesitation can be worse than error. Do you understand this?" Elias considered her words. "I will act with balance. I will be careful but not hesitant. I will not let fear guide my actions." A moment passed. Then Soralith relaxed slightly, her energy pulses slowing. "Good. Then proceed." Elias reached out, this time adjusting the delicate energy streams around her forearm, ensuring the tissue beneath her skin aligned properly. Soralith remained tense but allowed him to work, her eyes following his movements with a mix of curiosity and guarded trust. As he worked, he noticed the subtle shifts in her surroundings. The palace responded to her mood. Walls pulsed brighter when she tensed, dim when she relaxed. The energy flows through the room seemed to mimic her state of mind. Elias realized that caring for Soralith was not just physical. It required emotional awareness. He could not treat the wound alone. He had to maintain harmony, not only with her body, but with her energy. Minutes passed. The queen's tension ebbed slowly, and Elias continued his careful adjustments. Then, unexpectedly, Soralith spoke again, her voice lower this time, almost a whisper. "You are different from the others who have approached me. You feel differently. There is something in your presence that I cannot explain. Do you feel it?" Elias tilted his head. "I feel responsibility. To help, to understand." "I do not know what you mean beyond that." She studied him for a long time. Then, softly, almost as if testing him, she said, "Only my chosen one may care for me." Elias froze, the words echoing in his mind. This was no simple statement. It carried weight, history, and perhaps prophecy. "Chosen one?" he asked carefully. "I am only a healer. I did not come to claim titles or roles." Soralith's amber eyes locked onto his. "Then perhaps it is not you who chooses, but destiny or fate. Perhaps it is your actions that reveal your place." Elias swallowed hard. The air seemed to thrum around him, charged with an energy he could barely comprehend. He realized that in this world, care itself was a force not passive, but active, alive, and potent. How he acted mattered as much as what he did. Suddenly, a sharp alert came from the palace. A distant vibration, subtle yet urgent. The advisors' voices rose in muted alarm. Elias glanced up. Soreli's wings flicked in response, her energy pulses quickening. "Do you hear that?" she asked. "Yes," Elias replied. "Is it danger?" "Perhaps," she said. "Or a challenge. Either way, it tests patience and resolve. Humans speak of courage. Do you know what that is?" Elias met her gaze firmly. "Yes, courage is acting despite fear, understanding responsibility, and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. I will remain with you." Sorelith inclined her head slightly in acknowledgement. Then she whispered something almost inaudible. "We shall see." The next hours were filled with exercises designed to test Elias's perception and patience. He was asked to assist Sorelith in daily movements, monitor her energy streams, and anticipate her needs before she even spoke them. It was exhausting. Every motion required concentration. A misplaced hand or delayed response could trigger a flare in her energy or a wave of discomfort. During a particular exercise, Sorelith extended her arm and asked him to stabilize her energy pulses. While she performed a series of complex motions, Elias worked carefully, observing the faint shifts in color and frequency. At one point, her pulse faltered unexpectedly. Instinctively, he adjusted the energy stream, channeling calm through his own focus. The change was immediate. Her body responded, tension easing slightly. She paused and looked at him. For a long moment, there were no words, only the quiet resonance between them. Then she whispered, "You understand more than I expected." Elias felt a small surge of relief. "I do my best," he said. "I am learning from you as well." Soreli's gaze softened briefly. "Humans, they surprise me. Your kind is fragile, yet you endure. You are not like others who claim power through force or fear. Perhaps that is why. You are different." The queen's admission weighed heavily on him. Elias realized that trust was not given lightly on Zithra, and his actions in these hours had begun to shape their relationship in ways beyond mere medicine. Empathy, patience, and quiet attentiveness were proving more powerful than any weapon or command. Later, as the golden sun shifted across the palace, Elias was allowed a moment to rest. He sat quietly, observing the patterns of light and energy in the room. Sorelith watched him too, her pulses now steady but still attentive. There was a silent understanding forming an unspoken bond that neither had fully named yet. "You have calmed me today," she said softly. "That is unusual. Most who approach me cannot endure even a single hour without fear or misjudgment." Elias nodded, feeling both pride and humility. "I do not wish to impress. I wish only to care, to understand, to help." She considered him, then spoke a phrase he would not forget. "Perhaps that is why you are my chosen one." The words lingered in the air, weighty and strange, yet not threatening. Elias felt a mixture of awe, fear, and wonder. He understood that the journey had only begun. Trust, understanding, and courage were required for what lay ahead. As evening fell on Zithra, Elias prepared to leave the chamber. Soreli's gaze followed him, steady and contemplative. He knew the coming days would bring tests far beyond simple care tests of intellect, patience, and heart. But for the first time, he felt that he was not merely a human among Virilians. He was a participant in something larger, a connection that could change both their worlds. He stepped into the corridor, the hum of the palace surrounding him. The challenges ahead were uncertain, but Elias felt a quiet determination. Trust had been earned in these first hours, and a fragile bond had begun to form. Whatever lay ahead, he would meet it not with fear, but with care, courage, and the uniquely human ability to endure and adapt. And somewhere deep inside, he felt that the queen's whispered words, "Only my chosen one may care for me," were not just a test, but the beginning of a story that would span stars, civilizations, and the very definition of what it meant to be human. The morning light on Zithra streamed through the translucent walls of the palace. painting the halls in shifting patterns of gold and green. Elias Trent walked with measured steps towards Sir Aelith's chamber, feeling the weight of expectation heavier than ever. The first days had been testing, but today promised something greater, a challenge that would determine how far trust between human and queen could stretch out. When he entered the chamber, Sir Aelith was already waiting. Her posture was rigid, her wings partially raised, signaling both anticipation and tension. The wound on her arm had fully healed, but her energy still flickered slowly, a silent warning of the trials to come. "You are punctual," she said, her amber eyes sharp. "Good. Today, you will face your first true test. Not of skill alone, but of understanding, patience, and heart." Elias inclined his head. "I am ready, Your Majesty. I will do my best." Sir Aelith's gaze softened, though her energy pulses quickened. "The palace will observe. My advisors will test you. They doubt your ability. You must prove that care can be stronger than authority, that compassion can endure scrutiny where skill alone might fail." Elias felt a flicker of apprehension. The advisors had already watched him closely, murmuring doubts in the corridors. Yet he drew a deep breath, centering himself. This was not about impressing anyone, it was about understanding Sir Aelith and helping her endure the trials she faced as a leader. The first test was simple in concept but complex in execution. Sir Aelith moved slowly to the center of the chamber and extended her arms. "You must stabilize my energy while I perform motions that disrupt my natural rhythm. If you succeed, I will feel calm and safe. If you fail, even slightly, discomfort or pain may spread." Elias approached cautiously. He had learned to read subtle shifts in her energy, but this challenge demanded more than observation. He had to anticipate, respond, and maintain a constant connection without faltering. "Begin," she said softly. Sir Aelith lifted her wings fully, a magnificent display of iridescent patterns. Her energy flowed in complex, intertwined streams, flickering and looping like light in water. Elias placed his hands near her streams, focusing on sensing the shifts rather than controlling them outright. He allowed his own calm to flow into the room, a stabilizing presence against the turbulence of her energy. For long moments, nothing seemed to happen. Then, without warning, Sir Aelith's pulses became erratic, flickering sharply, almost violently. Her wings twitched, and a small tremor ran through her body. Elias adjusted instantly, redirecting the flow of energy, matching its rhythm without forcing it. The challenge was not to control her, but to harmonize with her. The advisors whispered among themselves, their voices barely audible but filled with tension. Elias ignored them, focusing entirely on the queen. His palms glowed faintly as his efforts guided her energy streams back toward balance. Slowly, the flickers lessened, her body settled, and the tremor disappeared. "You have steadied me," she whispered, a note of approval in her voice. Most who attempt this would fail. Few could maintain composure. Fewer still could understand without fear. Elias nodded, but he knew the challenge was not over. Sir Aelith's next test would push him beyond simple healing. "What comes next, Your Majesty?" he asked. "You must accompany me through the palace today," she said. "You will observe, anticipate, and act when I am in discomfort or danger. My advisors will challenge you. Others may attempt to unsettle me or influence your actions. You must remain calm, attentive, and human." Elias's heart raced. Walking beside the queen while under scrutiny from a civilization as advanced as the Virilians would be daunting, yet he felt a quiet determination. The challenge was daunting, but his connection with Sir Aelith gave him courage. As they moved through the palace, the corridors twisted and curved unpredictably, the walls alive with shifting light. Servants and guards watched their every step, and advisors shadowed them silently, observing and evaluating Elias's every reaction. The first trial came quickly. A group of Virilian diplomats entered, speaking rapidly in a language Elias could not understand. Their gestures were sharp, their expressions tense. One deliberately brushed past him, testing his patience and composure. Elias stayed calm, maintaining his position beside the queen. He focused on Sir Aelith's subtle shifts, the slight flicker of her wings, the pulse of energy along her arms, the tension in her posture. He adjusted subtly, a gentle pressure here, a small guiding gesture there, ensuring her comfort while showing no reaction to the diplomat's provocation. Sorelith's eyes flicked toward him, a faint pulse of approval in her amber gaze. Elias realized the queen was testing not just his skill, but his presence, whether his care could withstand external stress and influence. The next trial was more direct. One advisor presented a medical device, complex and unfamiliar, and claimed it could stabilize her energy faster than human methods. He instructed Elias to use it, implying that refusal would signify weakness. Elias studied the device, then looked at Sorelith. Her energy pulses had not increased, they were steady but tense. He understood what she required, trust and understanding, not reliance on technology. Carefully, he shook his head. "This is not necessary," he said calmly. "I can assist her with my own methods, with care and attention." The advisor frowned but remained silent, recognizing that Elias would not be swayed by force or intimidation. Sorelith's body relaxed slightly, confirming Elias's choice. As the day progressed, the challenges became increasingly complex. Sorelith moved through ritual spaces, performing gestures that destabilized her energy intentionally. Elias had to anticipate each motion, adjusting and harmonizing without interfering. He worked with focus and patience, feeling the subtle rhythms of her body and energy like a second language. At one point, Sorelith paused abruptly. A spike in energy ran along her wings, and her posture stiffened. Elias noticed immediately a hidden flaw in the chamber floor was causing discomfort. Without hesitation, he guided her movements subtly, preventing strain or harm. The advisors whispered in surprise. Few humans would notice such subtle cues, much less respond effectively. "You are attentive," Sorelith murmured later, her voice quiet and reflective. "Few can perceive what matters before it becomes a problem. You may be more than I expected." Elias felt a mixture of relief and pride but remained humble. "I observe and respond," he said. "I do not act out of pride or fear. Only care guides me." The day ended with the most personal test yet. Sorelith led him to a quiet chamber filled with faint, swirling energy. "This is my private space," she said softly. "None may enter without my permission. Today, I allow you to be here, but only if your heart is true. You must prove that your care is genuine, that your intentions are pure." Elias entered cautiously, understanding the gravity of the moment. The air shimmered, responding to her energy. He could feel the intensity of her presence, both regal and vulnerable. The queen's energy pulses moved in irregular rhythms, and Elias realized that this was not a test of skill alone, it was a test of character. He knelt before her and extended a hand, careful not to touch without permission. "I am here to care, not to claim," he said softly. "I am here to understand, to assist, and to protect." Sorelith's gaze held his for long moments. Then, slowly, she allowed him to place his hand near her energy stream. The moment their energies connected, he felt a delicate, intricate flow of emotion, trust, caution, hope, and strength. Elias adjusted subtly, harmonizing with her without dominating, guiding without controlling. "You understand," she whispered finally, her voice softer than before. "You have endured scrutiny, challenges, and doubt, yet you remain attentive, calm, and human. Perhaps this is why destiny has brought you here." Elias felt a warmth in his chest, a quiet pride mingled with awe. He had not simply passed a test. He had begun to form a bond that transcended language, culture, and species. The queen's trust, once fragile, was growing. As they left the chamber, Sorelith spoke once more, her words echoing in his mind. "You are unlike any human I have known. Perhaps you are truly my chosen one." Elias did not respond immediately. He understood that the path ahead would be filled with more challenges, more tests of skill, patience, and courage. Yet for the first time, he felt confident that human qualities, empathy, observation, adaptability were powerful even in a world as alien and advanced as Zithra. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long, golden shadows across the palace. Elias walked beside Sorelith, feeling the weight of responsibility and the spark of connection. Today, he had faced doubt, scrutiny, and tests unlike anything on earth. Yet he had endured, guided by care and understanding. And deep in his heart, he knew that the trials were only beginning. The story of human and Varillian, of healer and queen, had only just started, but the bond they were forming promised to shape the fate of both their worlds in ways yet unseen. The following day, Elias Trent awoke early, the golden light of Zithra spilling into his quarters. The air was soft, warm, carrying the faint metallic sweet scent that reminded him he was far from Earth. His mind, however, was not at rest. The Queen's words from yesterday echoed repeatedly, "You are truly my chosen one." He knew the weight of such a statement. Trust was not casually given on Zithra. It was earned through patience, courage, and genuine care. Elias had passed challenges and endured scrutiny, but now he sensed the deeper test had begun, the test of connection, of understanding the Queen beyond injuries and energy streams. When he entered Sir Aelith's chamber, she was already waiting. Her posture was more relaxed than before, though her wings remained slightly raised. She regarded him silently, amber eyes calm yet alert, reflecting the morning light. "You have been with me for several days," she began softly, "and yet there is more you do not understand. Not about my body, but about me, about my world, my people, my fears, and the weight I carry." Elias nodded. "I know I cannot yet understand fully, Your Majesty, but I am willing to learn. I am here to observe and listen." A faint pulse of approval ran through her energy streams. "Then we begin," she said. "Today, I show you the parts of me and my people that most outsiders never see. You must not only observe, but truly comprehend." She extended her hand, and Elias took it carefully. Feeling the soft, warm pulse of her energy, he realized again that the human touch, combined with awareness and calm, resonated deeply with the Varillian Queen. It was not mere healing, it was a bridge, a language without words. Sir Aelith led him through the palace to a private garden, a space unlike any other on Zithra. Plants with translucent leaves glowed softly, and streams of liquid energy ran like miniature rivers, creating patterns that danced in the air. The garden felt alive, responding to their presence and mood. "This garden is sacred," Sir Aelith said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It is where I reflect, plan, and connect with the life of my people. Few are allowed here, and fewer still may remain in harmony with its energy." Elias walked slowly, taking in the beauty, yet aware that his focus must remain on the Queen. Every step, every glance mattered. He sensed subtle shifts in her mood, tiny flickers in the energy of her body, and he adjusted his presence to maintain calm and trust. "Your people," he began cautiously, "they rely on you not just as a leader, but as a guide, a protector." Sir Aelith's amber eyes softened, and she nodded slightly. "Yes, my responsibilities extend beyond my own body or desires. I must protect, inspire, and guide. That burden, it isolates me." Few understand the weight of leadership on Zithra. Elias absorbed her words, realizing that human leaders also faced isolation. But perhaps the Varillian's connection to energy and life amplified it in ways he could barely imagine. "I may not fully comprehend all of your experiences," he said, "but I can witness them, listen to you, and be present." Sometimes, presence alone brings comfort. A faint ripple of energy pulsed from Sir Aelith, and she exhaled softly. "You speak as if your heart and mind are aligned. That is rare. Few humans would endure the scrutiny, let alone offer such understanding without ambition." They walked together through the garden, and Elias noticed how her wings reacted subtly to his presence. He had learned that minor changes in her body reflected emotions and tension, and he adjusted his pace and gestures accordingly. At one point, her energy pulsed sharply, a sudden surge of stress. Immediately, Elias placed his hand gently near her arm, not touching directly, allowing his calm to flow into her field. The pulse slowed, tension easing. She glanced at him, a flicker of gratitude and acknowledgement in her gaze. "You anticipate me," she whispered, "not by command, but by care. That is remarkable." Elias felt warmth rise in his chest, but he remained composed. "I do not anticipate to impress, Your Majesty. I do so because I am attentive to your needs, and I wish to ensure your well-being." For a long while, they moved in silence. The garden itself seemed to respond to their connection, the soft glows intensifying, streams of energy flowing in harmony. Elias realized that the bond between them was strengthening not through force nor instruction, but through mutual awareness and trust. Scifi finally stopped near a small pool of glowing liquid energy. She knelt slightly, touching the surface. Patterns formed and shifted with her gestures, reflecting her mood and thoughts. "This is my reflection," she said, "not of my face or body, but of my mind and soul. It is a place where truth and intention show plainly. You must see not only the energy, but what it represents." Elias knelt beside her, observing the patterns. Waves of emotion and thought emanated from her energy, complex and intricate. He saw hope, fear, determination, loneliness, and strength all intertwined. Carefully, he adjusted his own energy field, allowing him to align without interfering. Slowly, he felt her tension ease as he maintained harmony. "You resonate," she said softly. "Few can align so completely without intrusion. You feel without controlling, respond without dominance. That is rare." Elias realized she was teaching him a profound lesson. Care was not merely action, but understanding. It required balance, awareness, and humility. He nodded slowly. "I feel the same way. Not as control, but as connection. Not to lead, but to support." The queen studied him for a long time, then reached out, touching his hand lightly. The connection deepened, subtle pulses of energy intertwining in harmony. Elias felt her thoughts, her fears, and her hopes more clearly than ever before. And yet, he maintained calm, ensuring that his presence was a support, not a burden. "You understand me more than most," Scifi whispered. "Perhaps this is why you are my chosen one, not because of skill alone, but because you see me, truly see me, and act without selfish intent." Elias felt a mixture of awe and humility. "I am honored to serve in this way," he said quietly. "I do not seek titles or praise. I seek understanding and the ability to help." For the first time, Scifi smiled fully as soft, radiant gesture that illuminated her entire presence. "Then stay with me," she said. "Learn from me, share in my burdens, and perhaps together we can guide my people wisely." They remained in the garden for hours, speaking quietly, sharing experiences and thoughts. Elias learned about Virilian history, their values, and the challenges they faced as a civilization. He saw the weight of leadership on the queen, not just in physical responsibility, but in every decision that affected millions of lives. As the sun of Zithra dipped toward the horizon, Elias realized the significance of their bond. Trust, empathy, and understanding had bridged the gap between species. A human could now connect deeply with a being whose mind and energy were alien, proving that the core of humanity, compassion, patience, and attentiveness was universally powerful. Finally, as night fell and the soft glow of the garden illuminated them, Scifi looked at Elias with calm certainty. "You have passed more than a trial today," she said. "You have begun to understand what it means to truly care for me. Few could achieve this. Fewer still would endure and grow from it. Perhaps the path ahead will demand even more. But now, we are ready." Elias felt a quiet resolve settle in his heart. He had not only earned the queen's trust, but had begun a connection that transcended species, culture, and distance. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew that empathy, patience, and courage would guide him, and that the bond he shared with Scifi would be a source of strength for both of them. As they walked back toward the palace, their steps synchronized. Elias realized that the journey was no longer about proving himself alone. It was about partnership, understanding, and shared purpose. And in that realization, he felt the first true sense of belonging on Zithra, a human in a world far from home, yet profoundly connected. The queen's final words for the night echoed in his mind. Soft but unshakable, "Only my chosen one may care for me." And Elias knew, deep within, that he would rise to meet that calling. The morning sun cast long, golden rays across the palace of Zithra, painting the walls with a warm, living glow. Elias Trent felt a mixture of anticipation and calm as he prepared for the day. Today was different. The challenges had grown steadily over the past days, testing his patience, skill, and understanding. Now, the ultimate trial awaited him, one that would prove not just his ability to care for Siralith, but the depth of his bond with her and the strength of human qualities in an alien world. Siralith was already in the central chamber, her wings partially raised, energy streams flickering with measured intensity. Her posture radiated both authority and tension. Elias approached cautiously, carrying nothing but his presence, his calm, and his attentiveness. He knew that today would test him in ways that words could not describe. "You are here," she said softly, amber eyes locked on him. "Good. Today, you must prove that your care is not limited to healing or observation, but extends to action under pressure. My people, my advisors, and even rival factions will challenge you. You must act wisely, yet with heart." Elias nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I will act with care, patience, and respect. I will do my best." A faint ripple of acknowledgement ran through Siralith's energy field. Then, as if on cue, the chamber's doors opened and the advisors entered. Their expressions were stern, critical, and expectant. Elias felt their scrutiny immediately, a pressure unlike anything he had experienced before. But he centered himself. Fear had no place here, only focus, empathy, and action. The first challenge came swiftly. One of the advisors presented a complex energy artifact, claiming it could enhance Siralith's power. They insisted Elias activate it according to strict instructions. The artifact glowed, humming with energy that seemed almost alive. Elias studied it carefully. He knew the Queen's safety came first. He also sensed that the device could be risky, its instructions rigid, unforgiving. One wrong gesture could destabilize her energy, even harm her. He looked at Siralith, seeking guidance, though her eyes gave only calm assurance. "I will assist you with your power," he said quietly, "but in a way that ensures your safety." The advisors frowned, but Elias ignored them. He reached toward the artifact, synchronizing with Siralith's energy. Slowly, carefully, he allowed her power to flow through him, adjusting, harmonizing, and guiding without forcing. The artifact responded, stabilizing rather than dominating. A ripple of surprise passed among the advisors. Few had seen a human interact with Varillian power without arrogance or hesitation. Siralith's energy pulses steadied, and she exhaled softly. "You act with balance," she murmured. "Most would fail or seek control. You do not." Elias felt a quiet surge of pride, tempered by humility. The true test had only begun. Next came the trial of diplomacy. Rival Varillian factions had gathered, challenging the Queen's decisions and attempting to undermine her authority. Elias had to remain by her side, observing, supporting, and ensuring that her energy remained steady. Any sign of stress or fear could embolden the challengers, tipping the balance of power. He focused entirely on her, sensing shifts in her energy, responding instantly to tension. When a faction leader attempted to provoke her, Elias subtly guided her energy, maintaining calm without drawing attention. Siralith's posture remained firm, her voice strong. Yet her movements reflected the stabilizing influence of human care. "You anticipate well," she whispered during a brief pause. "Few can influence balance without command or force. You do not lead by domination, yet you guide. That is rare indeed." The day's final trial was the most personal. A concealed flaw in the palace structure triggered a sudden disturbance in Siralith's energy. A ripple of pain and tension ran through her body, sharp and unpredictable. Guards moved to assist, but Elias was already at her side. He placed his hands near her energy streams, allowing his calm presence to flow into her. The pulse of the disturbance threatened to overwhelm her, but Elias remained focused, harmonizing with her energy rather than resisting it. Minute by minute, the erratic waves softened, the tension eased, and the Queen's energy returned to balance. Siralith's wings fluttered gently in relief, and she looked at Elias with unguarded trust. "You do not falter, even when circumstances are extreme. You do not react out of fear or doubt. You act with clarity and care, perhaps. This is why you are truly my chosen one." Elias felt his chest swell with a mixture of awe and humility. He had faced doubt, scrutiny, and direct challenge, yet his focus had remained on care, understanding, and connection. In that moment, he realized the essence of the HFY theme, the uniquely human ability to endure, adapt, and inspire trust even in a world far beyond Earth. The advisors, watching silently, exchanged astonished glances. Elias's presence, calm and unwavering, had proven more effective than force, argument, or rigid authority. His human qualities, empathy, patience, attention, and courage had become a bridge between the queen and her people. Between human and Varillian, Scifi stepped forward, her wings unfurling fully. She placed a hand gently on Elias's shoulder, a gesture of acknowledgement that carried weight far beyond words. You have passed all trials, not through strength or dominance, but through care, presence, and understanding. You have earned my trust, and more importantly, you have earned the respect of those who doubted you. Elias bowed slightly, feeling both pride and humility. It was not for honor or recognition, Your Majesty. I acted only with care and respect, and to understand you as you are. A faint pulse of warmth radiated from the queen. Then you are my chosen one, not by title, but by action and heart. Let this be known, not as preference, but as a demonstration that care, patience, and courage are more powerful than fear or domination. The chamber filled with a quiet resonance, the energy of the palace responding to the harmony between human and queen, guards, advisors, and witnesses felt the change, the subtle but undeniable shift. That human qualities could inspire even the most advanced civilization. Later, as Elias walked beside Scifi through the palace gardens, he realized that the trials had achieved more than he had imagined. Trust had been built, a bond had been formed, and the queen's people had observed the demonstration of human virtue firsthand. You have proven much, Scifi said softly, her voice carrying warmth and reflection. Not just skill, but understanding, compassion, and courage. Few could endure scrutiny and maintain such clarity. Elias smiled faintly. I have learned from you as well, Your Majesty. Your strength, grace, and wisdom are extraordinary. I am honored to serve and to walk beside you. They reached the central fountain of the palace, where streams of glowing energy intertwined and flowed freely. The garden itself seemed to acknowledge the bond between them, responding with brighter glows and harmonious patterns. Elias felt a quiet sense of belonging, a human far from home, yet deeply connected to a world and a people he had come to understand and respect. Scifi extended a hand, and Elias took it gently. The contact was simple, yet profound. Energy pulses flowed between them in subtle harmony, symbolizing trust, care, and mutual understanding. He realized that the true power of humanity was not in conquest or control, but in empathy, presence, and resilience. You are more than a healer, Scifi whispered. You are a partner, a guide, and a connection to the virtues of your kind. Perhaps humanity has more to offer than we imagine. Elias felt a warm pride, tempered with humility. I hope to continue learning and serving, Your Majesty, to grow alongside you, and to help in whatever ways I can. Night fell on Zithra, casting soft golden shadows across the palace. Elias and Scifi walked together, their steps synchronized, a silent testament to the bond they had forged. The trials had ended, yet their journey was only beginning. For Elias, the significance was clear: human qualities, empathy, courage, patience, and the desire to understand could bridge even the greatest divides. They could inspire trust, form bonds, and shape the destiny of worlds. He had come as a medic, but he had become much more a witness, a partner, and a living example of humanity at its finest. As he rested that night, Elias thought of the queen's words that had echoed from the beginning. Only my chosen one may care for me. He understood now that the meaning was not in privilege or title, but in responsibility, trust, and the quiet strength of care. He had accepted that role not out of ambition, but out of purpose, and he knew he would honor it for the days and challenges ahead. And in the palace of Zithra, under a sky of golden stars and swirling energies, a human and an alien queen stood together, bound by trust, care, and the extraordinary power of understanding. It was a moment that would be remembered not as conquest, but as connection to triumph of humanity in the far reaches of the stars. The story of Elias Trent and Siralith had reached a new chapter, one where the qualities of Earth's people shone brightly in a distant, alien world. Courage, empathy, and patience had proven stronger than doubt or fear, and the bond formed between human and queen promised to shape the future of Zithra in ways that were just beginning to unfold. Elias looked at Siralith, amber eyes glowing softly in the night, and smiled. Together, they would face whatever came next not as ruler and servant, but as partners, united by care, respect, and the quiet, enduring strength of humanity.